Over the years, I've collaborated with some of the most amazing producers, songwriters, and artists in the world. People responsible for literally billions of streams. Every time I went into a songwriting session with one of these talented artists, my goal was to learn as much as possible from them, all of their secret techniques and tricks. And while I did end up learning dozens, if not hundreds, something surprising started to happen. The more I listened, the more I realized the people at the top kept giving me the same 5 pieces of advice. So today, I'm gonna share them with you. The 5 fastest and easiest ways you can improve as a music producer. Okay, so the number one thing I've heard from other producers and have experienced myself is this. The fastest way to learn as a music producer is to study other people's music. Good music. But this isn't like casual listening. This is remaking popular music to understand how it was made. But actually, I've taken this idea even further. I've created my own method to study music and learn from it. It's called 5s. Step 1, make yourself a nice little playlist. And now what you're gonna do is drag 5 songs you'd like to study into this playlist. Step 2, you're gonna pick your favorite of the 5 to study first. And then you're gonna spend 5 minutes analyzing it. Let me show how I would do this by analyzing Greedy by Tate McRae. Okay, and step 3, you're gonna write down your 5 favorite elements from this song. For me, in Greedy, it's Y2K drums, a percussive kalimba-inspired synth, drone bass, a pitched-up vocal, and a synth pad. Step 4, spend 5 minutes per element and recreate each one. Let's go through this process together. The first element I wrote down was Y2K drums, and if you listen to the instrumental of Greedy, you can hear that this is achieved with extra percussions. So to remake this for my beat, I'm adding a ton of rhythmic percussions, like these tambourines, these hats and rims, and even mouth pops like this. This is my whole drum package, and I think it's pretty close. The next item on the list was the kalimba-like synth. The second I heard this, I knew Omnisphere was going to be the plugin to create this in. I knew there was going to be a lot of similar instruments to this, and I'm playing it with a similar arpeggio rhythm than what was in Greedy. Took me a couple of times listening back and forth, which is something you'll want to do. I went ahead and created the deep drone bass by combining a couple of different bass instruments. I made a simple synth pad using Diva, and then I made the pitched up vocal that hangs over the chorus of Greedy. It's super haunting and weird. By the way you do this is by taking a regular lower pitched vocal like this, and then going up a couple of octaves and adding all kinds of effects. Okay, and literally in just a few minutes, I made this and learned a ton that I can apply to my own tracks. And finally, step 5. Do this for 5 days with the other songs you chose. In 1 week, your ears and your technique will grow like crazy. Do it for 5 weeks and you'll be unstoppable. This next tip is a little bit underrated, but I think it's huge for helping you grow as a producer. It's simple. Instead of getting more things into your toolkit, buying more plugins, you spend more time with the tools you already have and learn to use them better. Because once you know a plugin well, you can use it way faster and be way more creative. Let me demonstrate this with a plugin I've been using for like over 10 years. This is Valhalla Vintage Verb. It's a very good reverb. Let's say I want like a darker plate verb on this vocal here. I can make this without actually listening to it. We're gonna go to dirty plate. We're gonna increase the low cut because we don't want any kind of mud. We want to decrease the high cut. We don't want that long of a delay, maybe about 2 seconds, a little bit more pre-delay. Mix should be 20 something. Let's listen to this.
If the world was ending, I wanna be next to you, wanna be next to you.
I mean, that's exactly the sound I wanted, and that's because I know this plugin. I like barely have to check. Every week on this channel, I do these live streams where I listen to music other producers submit. Some are a little bit newer, some are more experienced, and I can tell you the number one difference I hear between the newer and the more experienced producers is their sound selection. With the newer producers, it's often their drums feel kind of weak, their bass is kind of thin, while the more experienced producers, the stuff sounds more powerful, intentional, you get it. So how do you train your ear to know what's good when you don't know what's good? Here's the trick. You train your ear by cheating a little at first. Basically, you borrow good taste from songs that already sound great, and then you build your own library of sounds based on that. Okay, let's say you really like Ariana Grande. Listen to a few of her songs and try to figure out, what is the snare like? What are the kicks like? What kind of percussion is used? You get it. A track like that is a classic trap sound. So now I know where to look. For example, I know that Southside is a really great trap producer, so I can check out his claps and see if there's one that sounds like The Boy Is Mine. That is very similar. For example, I also heard some 808 cymbals. I also heard some bright 808 hats, something like this. And the kick in Ariana's song sounds kind of like this. So what you can do after this is you can save your own sound set based on songs, artists, styles you like. So once you do this over and over with artists and styles that you like, not only will you develop your taste, you'll also have a collection of samples that you know work for you. But honestly, I get that it can be kind of a catch-22 to know what sounds good if you don't know what sounds good, which is why I made several collections of samples and even synth presets for you guys to use, which I give you access to in my upcoming music producer crash course. This collection of drum samples, it's all handpicked stuff. It's things I've used a lot, so they're kind of like tried and true. Some of them I made myself, so stamp of quality. Once this course comes out, you will get access to that, plus 99 of my most favorite music production tips and tricks. A very common thing I notice with newer producers on my live streams is that their tracks often sound plain. And it's not that their ideas are bad necessarily, they're just kind of using these dry, out-of-the-box sounds straight out of their synth or from Splice. And sometimes those sounds don't really have a lot of character or vibe. So here's how you sauce up a plain sound. So I actually took that kalimba sound from the Greedy remake and I replaced the sound to make it this like plain sine wave. Sounds like a video game. I just wanted something like really plain to demonstrate this on. So the first thing you can try to do is create some space for your track. Reverb, delay. This is a very cool delay reverb combo plugin that I love. If we just use it on the verb setting, we can do some really lush long verbs like this. Add some stardust. That is immediately a lot better without me doing like anything. We can try a little bit of saturation. You can really reshape your sound with this. We can try some filtering. But the real magic lies in when you start combining all these different effects. For example, let's actually grab this and make a copy of it. We'll put the reverb back on. What I'm doing with here now is I'm cutting it at every bar and I'm reversing every bar. So I get this kind of vibe. Okay, and with some tweaking, I ended up with this. It's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot more interesting than this. Now, this tip is going to be to learn to master your songs. And before you click off because you're scared of the word mastering and think it's too technical, it doesn't have to be like that. There are simple tools that make mastering really accessible and easy to use, even if you're not super technically inclined. Okay, so first of all, let's talk about how loud your master needs to be and how do you measure that loudness. So I recommend this free plugin. It's called Yulin Loudness Meter. And really you kind of just look at two markers here, this True Peak Max and this Integrated Loves. This is the overall loudness that it is at. And this is kind of like the peaks of your track. So kicks, snares, any like short percussive elements that sort of pop out. For pop music, you want this on a master to be somewhere between minus 9.5 to minus 6. Above that, louder than that, like minus 5, minus 4 is going to be really compressed sounding. That might be okay for certain things, but you're going to notice it's going to feel like very much like a wall of sound. And this really shouldn't be above 0 0. So this is what my mix right now on this greedy remake is doing. It's easier to just bring everything up with mastering than it is to try to fix a mix that's really like clipping and, you know, super compressed. So yeah, first up, take a look at where you're even at mix stage. And now you just need a simple mastering plugin. This plugin, Lander Mastering Pro, I've been really into this lately. I think it does a really, really good job. And like literally you don't need to know anything about mastering. You literally just play it, your song, and it listens. So, and then when it's done analyzing, the plugin actually pops up and you legitimately don't have to even do anything. Most of the time it does a really good job just from its own analysis. Like if we listen right now. It's honestly pretty good. Maybe a little bit still soft, so I can go ahead and turn the loudness amount up. Also, this knob is really good if you have vocals. Obviously, this doesn't, but this kind of helps them cut through the mix a little bit more. Okay, and just with a couple of those tweaks, it sounds like this, and it's hitting all the right numbers. It's honestly not bad for just a few minutes of work. So yeah, mastering or mixing doesn't have to be complicated. And if you want a little bit more help with that, I do have a mixing section inside my music producer crash course. If you get on the early access list now, which the link is in the description, you will get 50% off when it launches in just a couple of weeks. And in the meantime, while I know you're still feeling inspired, you can check out one of my other videos. And I will see you guys next time.